Hello everyone. A case of a patient with medial meniscus flap injury associated with radial injury. We started a stroscopy through the anterolateral portal and the probe entering through the anteromedial portal. This lesion runs from the posterior horn to the body of the meniscus with a very extensive lesion. At that moment, I decided to start by attaching flaps to the back of the still. Fragile meniscus. We started with an all-inside tweezer called a mini. I started first by passing high-strength wire through the fixed part of the coil. Now, at that moment, it is interesting that you run the wire so you can have more wire margin to suture the flap. You should take the wires that were inside the connector to the side of the portal so that it does not get in the way of the clamp again. Detail that you have to enter through the same entrance to the portal where you passed the wires to prevent the wires from sticking to the center. At that moment, we take the furthest margin of the flap . Now, let's start the inside. Here it is interesting that you make a running knot and 2 or 3 simple knots, always alternating one name up and one knot down, so that you have the security that the knot will be firm. Outside knots, starting with the most central part of the meniscus. Before starting these points, we make a posterior-medial axis around the meniscus so that we can pull the threads and tie them at the root. I prefer to start with horizontal points that I think fit the meniscus more. This most interesting back point possible. That you make a lower side portal so that you don't get into a lot of trouble with the spine. In addition to the slightly lower portal, it is a little more central. vertical points, a horizontal dot below the meniscus. This dot is very important because it returns the shape and sits the meniscus. So I always try to give it horizontally and to create the natural shape of the meniscus. Note that after this stitch, the meniscus drops and sits on the medial plate. This returns its natural form. After all the inside-out points, now people are thinking of fixing the back of the meniscus with an all-inside. With a fast-fix device, first, we put the introducer exchanger so as not to twist the fast fix, because it must be mounted with the minimum possible voltage. Then choose the most suitable region and integrate it. They're on the radial lesion in the end, and I take the first shot, and at that moment, I rotate it so that the fixation device is really stuck in the end. At that moment, you should retreat as little as possible and with balanced movements to the thread, not in the needle. I notice here that in this part, there is still a lesion, so I look for a liquid part, which is in the most posterior part. Second shot, and I also rotate 3. At that moment, avoid pulling the wire so that it locks without the noter. So first I put the noter, and then I'm going to pull. That is the ultimate aspect of the meniscus.